Nobody is more valuable than the other person.
Right.
But equal does not dissolve authority in the
That's
same way
right.
that authority does not dissolve
I
equalness.
love that. All right, all right. Welcome back. Welcome back to another segment in Marriage Matters. Wherever you are, whatever time this finds you, um, whether you're married or not, you're thinking about it, you're dating. I think this is gonna be beneficial for you. And so this is Marriage Matters, and I am Shane, and none other on the other end is the a King Author. All right, the author of authors. Mr. Arthurs, how are you, sir?
I'm good, I'm good. It's a joy to be back again on this platform and share
Right.
thoughts and ideas, no? Very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially as we are talking about marriage. So today we're gonna deal with the fourth P, which is purpose. All right. I'm finding out in different eras of life that living by purpose is much more meaningful versus living by performance. And if you're not living by purpose, you're gonna be performing. So what I mean performing, performance has a lot to do with meeting the requirements of or trying to impress. But when you have a purpose in life, and when you know your purpose and you know why you're here, you know what this thing exists for, you're gonna find much more meaning, much more satisfaction in life. So when somebody manufactures something, for example, whatever you're looking at this on your device, somebody manufactured that device and they had an intention for that purpose. They had
Yes.
a something in mind for that device. Somebody saw, hey, rooms get hot, let's make an air conditioner. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
somebody said, hey, let's make a fan. There was a need, and so there was something prepared for that need. Now when you think about purpose also, if a purpose is not clearly established and understood, things will be misused. All right.
Yeah.
And so just think about the prison system for a minute. I'm just gonna go there for an example. You
Mm-hmm.
have the prison system and your prisoners inside. You give them a screwdriver. What are they gonna do with that screwdriver? They're probably gonna make a shiv out of it. But
Hmm.
a screwdriver in the hands of a carpenter is going to build and tend to something productive. So the original intention for the screwdriver was to build and to tighten and to pull things together. But in the hands of somebody who sees a other purpose for it, it's going to have a purpose, not the original, but it's going to be misused. And as it's being misused in the prison, it's damaging other people, and it also is being damaged. All right, it's not used for its original intention. So I want us to be thinking about those things as we talk about purpose in marriage and in relationship. The purpose for the man, the purpose for the woman, and
Yeah.
moreover the purpose of marriage. So, Brother Arthurs, what do you have? What are you thinking? What's going through your thought process as we're thinking about purpose in terms of marriage and relationships, sir?
Well, in the same vein of what you mentioned earlier about purpose, whenever something is made, there is an end in mind, a
Mm-hmm.
reason for for such thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that reason determines how it is built.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a why,
Right.
and then there's a how,
Mm-hmm.
and everything serves that purpose. So it is important to understand the power of purpose, because purpose is the reason. And I nearly said for the season, but yeah, it's the reason for the season of
We're
marriage.
not there yet.
We're not there. We're a couple months from there, but a few months from there. But that purpose determines how and why. Um, and so understanding this actually equips a couple for preparing for marriage when there's an understanding of the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of marriage. See,
Yes.
um, there are many things that tie into place for this. So it is important to keep these things in mind. I want to start probably with the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you're on there in a relationship and you marry this person, remember now, it should not be based on how handsome he looks or how tall he is, how much muscle he has, whether he has a 6-pack, an 8-pack, a 20-pack. I have a solid 1-pack. I mean, you can't get better than that. It's solid. It might be curved more than your 6-pack. I have one big curve, no?
Watch out, no.
But yeah, you don't use a 1-pack to determine whether or not you get with a person. And this is where you begin to look ahead. The purpose of a marriage, I find about 3 or 4 solid reasons or ingredients that make a purpose. And then I think later on, hopefully, we have the chance to get back to what determines. Originally, the purpose will answer this question. What is this thing originally designed for? That is the question that purpose answers. What is it originally designed for? So I want to throw out a few things. One of the largest reasons for getting married is to actually fulfill a purpose. So the purpose of getting married is to fulfill a purpose. And you might say, but then you're not giving me up. Yeah, but there are so many different purposes out there. So I could give you an example. And since you're asking, let me go ahead and do that now. When my first marriage, I remember we met this lady, we passed her home, and we met this lady in a bathhouse. And in the front of the yard was an abandoned house where the walls, and I don't know if they started to build and didn't get very far, but there were simply columns and maybe a flooring and nothing. So the front was not inhabitable. But in the back of the yard, in one of the corners, there's this bathhouse that has holes large enough that snakes could go through. And this lady and about 3 children lived there. So the owners of this place started to build. It didn't get very far, or maybe they built and they left and it got abandoned. But she's in this house and bush all around. And I was there with my first wife and her heart broke. And we decided to stop. We went for her and we told her, come. Picked her up and we brought her to our house. And we decided that we were going to take care of her and her kids. That didn't last too long because the lady would only listen to me. My wife could not speak to her. It seemed that she had a little liking for me, if I, for lack of saying it a different way. And so she would only listen to me, and we decided that, it's best that we help her to pay for somewhere for her to stay. And so we decided that we're going to do, if for lack of a better word, halfway houses or places to take care of women and children who are in need. And my wife passed, so I now find myself in another marriage. And in this marriage, my current wife, her job was helping to take care of children and families. So I left from a marriage where we were spending money to take care of the helpless and those who needed help and the homeless. And here I'm someone now that her job is actually to take care of the helpless, the homeless, and those who are at risk. And so you see where the purpose of our marriage just slipped right into it, because it began with that end in mind, so to speak. And so that is why I can say that the purpose of marriage is for a specific purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
what is the purpose of your marriage? What is the purpose of any marriage
Right.
that comes up? And if there's no purpose, you might start to run over some harsh roads because the
Mm.
purpose helps you on the long term to determine where and how to move.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I think it's important. And that's an important point, and it's something that we talk about and we try to share with, especially people who have not yet been married, because that's an important thing to establish and find out if you can before, because
Yeah.
if purposes are not aligned, or if there's not a oneness in a purpose, we can find that a marriage may just end up cohabitating at best.
Yes.
um we share a house, we make sure the bills are paid, we make sure there's food, but there's no meaning, there's no satisfaction,
Right.
because there's no what I the three double I like to call, there's no walking together, there's no warming each other, there's no warring together, right?
Yeah.
There's no walk, no work, no war together, no warming. Sorry, because there's no purpose that is necessarily tying it, that the two are tied together in. Because I find out in my own marriage too, when as we're working together, as we're walking together, as we're making war together in life, as we're warming each other, I find out we're bonding all the more. My
Yeah.
wife and I, we're being the manual paints this picture of it says a triple bearded cord cannot quickly be broken, and so the cord is being tied together even more, as they're fulfilling. So I love that point that you touched of purpose, and the marriage. A marriage is for onto a purpose, which is very, very, very excellent. And so yeah, I just wanted to add that, bro. Yeah, anything else you wanted to go with
Yes.
next?
Yes, of course. On that line, before I move from that purpose, that your marriage, the purpose of your marriage is to fulfill a particular purpose. I would like to see here another important thing, that the manual calls the wife a help,
Mm-hmm.
and the manual calls the wife a help that is capable.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very biased manual, because it doesn't say the wife is capable if she goes and study, if she goes and get a bachelor's, or you spoke the other day of making six figures, or making enough that she can be qualified for a
Qualified.
certain level of
Right.
man. No,
Right.
there's nothing like that there.
Mm-hmm.
The manual is a bit biased, if you ask me. But I did not create the species or the product, so I will have to work with it.
Yeah.
But she is called a help that is capable, a helpmeet. And there's a problem where if somebody is designed that once they marry you, they will want to help you, and they marry someone that has no purpose in mind in the near future, they marry someone that they are into video games, basketball, they just go to work and come back, and there's not a purpose in mind, then you might find that you have a frustrated wife.
Yeah.
A wife that might be called cantankerous and nagging, right, and like a dripping faucet. Yes. And so this is one of the things that causes frustrations and different types of frustration in a marriage, when the husband has no idea where he's going and the wife wants to help him, but this causes frustration. The second purpose of marriage, and they're in any particular order, but this is also a big purpose, and I would also say a reason for marriage. And that is, the purpose of marriage is to delete loneliness. So in the manual, the manufacturer made the man first, and he noticed that everybody else had a companion. And so he looked at the man and realized that, and he knew this. It's not like he didn't know it, but you know, it's time. It's time for the man to have a companion. But if you notice, before that man has a companion, he is given a work to do.
Right.
So he had to
Like
take
that.
care of the spot. He was given the responsibility to give everything a name, to give identity. So he was practicing to give identity before he even had a woman. So he gave identity to the dog. You'll be called dog. You'll be called cat. And that is one of the big things that a man should do for his family. He should give identity. You'll notice that for 99% of married couples, as you get married, the identity of the female changes. So maybe their name was Arthurs at the beginning. They get married to somebody that's not an Arthurs, their last name changes. And so that is the first place that identity is given in marriage, when the last name of the person is changed. And people make mistake and say, oh, there's some people will look at your wife and call her the name that she had when they knew her when she was 12 years old. That is no longer her identity. You see, it has changed. And so before that man got a lady, he was given work, and he was mature. He was able to identify and to evaluate his environment, evaluate the environment of the animals, and turn around and give them names. He was there to make sure everything was neat and proper and put in its place before he was given a woman intentionally. And I can prove that, but that's not the point. The point is that your loneliness should not be that you cannot live without somebody. You know, you hear a man saying, oh, how can I live without you? Yeah. If I have to survive without you in my life, I know I wouldn't last a day.
I know, right?
You know? And if a man is lost without you and he's very serious about it, girl, you need to run. Woman, run. Not to him. That man needs to be psychologically intact before he can become a proper mate, a proper companion for you. Because if he cannot survive without you, while he should be the foundation of the marriage, you're in for some deep trouble, mommy. You see? Oh, that's the second purpose that I would like to share with us. I don't know if you have a thought on that one.
Yeah, I just, you know, it's great that you said that. I think that the manual is scary where it says it's not good for a man to be alone. And so it's telling us and showing us that there is a need for companionship. We're designed for community, we're designed for relationship. However, it's not that, like you quite right said, if we find that we have an unhealthy dependence, as we're made, there's a principle of life, interdependence. You look at organizations, you look at school, everywhere, business, there's interdependence. One department exists to support another department and so on. And so interdependence is a life principle. However, it should not be mistaken for an unhealthy dependence, like you were saying.
Right.
So I do think that there is a the companionship for sure. And I think you talked earlier about another one. I like to add to companionship is collaboration. We're called to collaborate on something bigger than ourselves in marriage. We're called to for companionship and to collaborate. So I just wanted to add those two things. So interdependence, great, but don't live with an unhealthy dependence. That's not a good thing. So just wanted to add those stats.
I would enjoy to further explain what you have said using for lack of a better word, apple pie.
Yeah.
You know, when this lady was in the garden, Eve, She took that apple before she gave it to her husband. She sprayed some pledge on it and she shined that baby up. That thing reflected the sun, the moon, anything you could think about. And then she turned around and made apple pie. So he could smell that apple pie baking from a mile away. And going towards this apple pie, if you want to make apple pie is dependent on apple. They're interdependent. The flower is dependent on the apple, etc. But if you are making apple pie and you go and get an apple that is incomplete, an apple that is immature, that is not fully grown, an apple that is a baby, an apple that is not ripe, it is sour, it is spoiled. You do not have a whole apple. You have a piece of an apple, an immature apple, then your apple pie will not be nice. Although the apple pie the parts are interdependent, there's a need for wholeness. And why that is very important, there are many times because outside a man looks whole. And it's only men I'm thinking about here, not women. Because according to the manufacturer, you find a wife, you find a good thing. But there are many men, we look whole, we look complete, our strength is there, our sexual strength is there, but that does not mean that psychologically we are whole. And many times we need to get help before we get into a relationship. Because many times we are an accident waiting to happen. And innocent ladies come and join with us not understanding this. And so that is why you can be lonely, but you should be whole. You should be a wholesome, lonely person. Meaning you have a job. If you don't have a job, don't get married. If you lose a job while you're married, look for one. This is important because you're the foundation of your family, and that is your curse. A man should carry his curse. A man is not whole if he has this hatred for his mother. He feels that she didn't love him and he cries or he's angry because mommy didn't love him or daddy didn't love him. If he feels that he cannot survive in life, that he wants to take his own life, that man should not have a family. That man should get his life strengthened and repaired. And it's, you don't want to build a house on a foundation that is not ready or it will sink. You see? And in the manual, it talks about breeze blowing and waves crashing. And if that house is built on a foundation that is sand, that house will not stand.
Come on.
And so it's not a hitting, because we'll get to the ladies in a while, and women that might not be very happy with looking at that they were playing this in the purpose of marriage. But on the man's side, you need to be whole, even if you're lonely. Even if you're alone, you need to be whole. I have met people that have even divorced. In my case, I was remarried and I was still not whole. I was still going to be sent back to mommy so I could finish baking. You know? So I just want to make that point. Loneliness is not synonymous to being whole. It is not okay to not be enough, to not be properly equipped. Okay? Loneliness is not a qualification for marriage. It's a state.
Before you get to your next point, I do want to add, though, and I've always encouraged single people with this one, is that use your season of singleness for preparation for marriage. It's a great time for you to learn who you are, to learn about the manufacturer, to learn about life through the manufacturer's eyes. It's a great time for you to I want to dare say expand yourself, if I could use that terminology, but to grow, because I tell you, I found that in hindsight, there's 5 years before I met my wife, that was some serious time of investing in this in my in me and growing spiritually and emotionally. And it did it save us from glitches? No. But I could say it did make a difference for me going into marriage.
Yeah.
And so I wanna encourage you to maximize your season of singleness.
Yeah.
For relationships and marriage if you're intending to. Yeah.
Yes, I like that. You prepare. If you are going on a trip, you prepare.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're single, that's preparation time. You think
That's right.
that you are having your own way when you are rude to your mother.
Mm-hmm.
You think you are having your own way, sir, when you don't tell your mom that you are going all the way to another city to hang out with your friends. You know, an hour's drive away, and you think you are becoming a man now because you've kept that from your mom. But all you're doing, you're preparing yourself to do the same thing to your wife, that she will not know where you're going.
Be a rebel.
You're
You're
training
preparing to
yourself.
be a rebellious husband.
Yes and no. I don't think there's ever such a term as a rebellious husband. Would you tell me why? I don't think so.
When I say rebellious, you're rebellious to your purpose as a husband.
Okay. Yeah, you saved yourself for that one. I'll take that. This is why you can't have a rebellious leader.
Yeah.
You can't have a rebellious head. For you to be rebellious, that is calling into account that something else exists.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing that exists is some authority.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be the authority and rebel.
Mm-hmm.
You can only rebel if there's somebody above you. So in a relationship, the husband is the head, and hopefully we get to that, that the husband is the head. And so he can't be a rebellious husband. So he might be you know, in Belize we say shalai husband, and he might be a imposter husband, rotten husband.
Yeah, we say a bastard husband.
A bastard husband, yeah, etc., no?
Illegitimate, yeah.
Illegitimate husband, and there are many of that to go around, because I was one. So I can say that, and I'm still coming out of it and learning how to not be illegitimate, no?
Right.
And the funny thing is that if you check all husbands, it is always the fault. It is always a bad wife they have. We have the cleanest, purest, bestest husbands in the world. It's never our problem. It's always the wife has a problem. She's the only problem. We are good. We are good, sir.
You're hitting hard.
No, it's a genuine belief we have. We
It's
don't
true.
think anything is wrong with us.
It's true.
And so we have not a clue. I was just talking to someone, and they mentioned that someone asked, a wife was asked, do you love your husband?
Mm-hmm.
And these are questions that people who claim to be, they claim to be ambassadors of the manufacturer. They're asking questions like this, when nowhere in the manual says that a wife should love her husband. And they're asking that question. And so we have embassies around the world asking the wrong questions and ill-bearing husbands. And so even the embassies, they're responsible for having illegitimate husbands.
Mm.
Another word for embassy would be the term church.
Mm-hmm.
Just let me clarify, in case someone doesn't understand. And so, no, it is not in the manual. There's nowhere in the manual. We'll get to the wife part, where what the manual says about the wife. So let me throw this here before we run out of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The last purpose I want to just share here before we move to the other point is that the purpose of marriage is to replenish the earth.
Mm.
We were told to go forth, multiply, and replenish the earth.
Get your calculators out and multiply.
Yes. So we are not only prepared, but we are equipped.
Right.
A woman is given ovaries after ovaries after ovaries,
Mm-hmm.
and a man is given millions. We can create millions of soldiers
Right.
in one sitting. We have been equipped for that. The only problem with that, and I won't dwell long on it, but the only problem is with that is that we have been given an order the way it should happen.
Mm-hmm.
Your multiplication should come after you have committed yourself to one woman.
Right.
So you become married first, and then you start to multiply.
Right.
You see, what happens right now, and we all love it because we can do what we want and we can please our gratification and our, you can meet somebody today in a bar or tonight, and that same night you're in bed juicing each other up.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and then a baby is conceived. Then now we have to run around and make laws that allow you to tear your baby out your womb.
I know, right? It's crazy.
You see? Yeah, and we want to justify it. You see? Now I know that there are different reasons for what is termed abortion, but I'm just a big percentage of abortions, they become the result of using the wrong order and priority. And I want to say this. When a family comes together, they are the atom of society.
Yeah.
It's the building block of society.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the prisons, you will find that the majority of prisoners inside the prison, they are a result of not having a father in their life. Meaning that atom have been destroyed. And I want to say the way you make an atomic bomb is to split the atom. And it's the splitting of the atom that causes explosion. So the fact that family is the atom of society, but yet we can't keep the family together, then you can understand why the world is in the position it is.
It's about to
because
blow.
We have explosions all over the face of the earth. I'm surprised the earth is still spinning. Because there are explosions all over. We have thousands and millions of kids ending up in single-parent relationships. And when it's not single, there are a lot of quarreling and fussing and violence, sometimes fatal violence. And so there's this constant explosion. The earth is like a war zone, if you think of it from a family. So I like when you talk about war, because we should be warring to keep our family together. We should fight for our family, not against. Keeping the family together, that family unit.
That's right.
So yeah, so the third purpose that I would like to share is, and there may be more, it's definitely not an exhaustive list, but the third purpose would be to multiply and replenish the earth. And there's an order priority to do it in. Get married first. You don't want to do that, then you have all authority to you have the dominion to do what you want, and then later on see what happens. No?
Yeah, one of the errors that I speak very strongly against that I've seen is where maybe two young people have a young man gets a young lady pregnant before marriage. And what they do is they say, well, no, you have to get married because of that baby in the womb. And I say it's error, because you are putting this couple to build their marriage and home on a child.
Yeah.
Which should have been, like you were saying, a byproduct of the relationship. So, but if the two are in love and they or they want to commit, that's a different story. But it seems now that the bond between the two is not just holy matrimonial vows, but it's because of this life that's now being birthed or about to be birthed, that you have to join together.
Yeah.
That is not wise, because I've heard from older couples when the children leave the house, they go to college, they work, they move on with their life. What do you have left if you were building your marriage or your life on that? Then what happens when it leaves? So just food for thought as we're thinking about procreation and we're thinking about that fact there, that's a purpose from the beginning, is to replenish. I was thinking about that earlier on, and I thought to myself, it's interesting that we like to say very various many ways, the children are the future, the youth are the future, they're tomorrow, and that in itself is telling us, hey, there's something to this procreation thing, all right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just but if you permit me, I'd like to get more specific to the male and the female, if I can segue us a little forward, because you
Nice.
touched on the help meet, and you touched on the man as the head. So the woman is the help meet and the man as the head. And I wanna get right into the head, the purpose of the man, which is the head.
Hmm.
We are the head. So let's think about our physical heads for a minute. And there are different things on our head. There's the eye, there's the ear, or I should rather say there are the eyes, the ears, the nose, and the mouth, right? And each one of these physically offer a function for us that we can have, for the most part, a normal head on our body, right?
Yeah.
And so, but let's start with the eyes. On our head, our eyes are to see. We see what's ahead. We can see what's coming. We can identify things. And so the man is the head, and as the head of the home, we ought to be seeing for our family. We ought to be seeing what's next, what's
Yeah.
ahead. Um, we ought to be aware, watchful, vigilant of our surroundings. Um, as a head, we ought to be seeing what is on the horizon. What's the vision um for us? What's the vision for our family?
Mm-hmm.
The eyes perceive, the eyes see. I want to go with the ear. The ear also hears. The ear physically listens. We can hear songs. We know when a car is coming. We know, hey, that's a dog over there, don't go there. We hear things.
Yeah.
And so we can hear also the purpose for the family and the marriage. We can hear, and we can learn, but not just hearing for purpose, but also, I think as a man, one of the things that I want to personally grow in, I always tell my wife I'm longing for a girl, a daughter, because I could be wrong, but I think it would push me and challenge me to be more sensitive, right? Having a girl.
Yeah.
But having an ear, it's not just to hear what's coming or wrong, but to hear each other, to learn how to listen to our wives and our family. And so the head listens and hears, okay? And then we have the nose, which discerns. I think the nose is, like, to me, like a picture of discernment. The men, we ought to be having that discernment, man. Um,
Yeah.
as best as possible, discerning danger. We back off now. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna go, what's up with this person? Sometimes there's some people that come to the gate, come to the house. I'm like, you pick up something.
Yeah.
You're not being suspicious unnecessarily, but I do think as the head and as the man, we have that mandate, and it's a strong word, like a mandate on our life, to
Right.
discern. And then we taste, the mouth choose. There's so much. And so we are in the information age. The
Yeah.
other day, I got a message from somebody about something medical, and it's like, make sure you share this. I told my wife, I'm not regurgitating this to anybody else. I don't know what the source is. I don't know where
Hmm.
this is coming from. I don't know if this is true, and I cannot be peddling this back. So as with the mouth, we taste, we. And let me give an example here. So my wife and I would get in the kitchen every so often together, and let's say we do breakfast. We
Yeah.
we add a little bit of milk to the egg to make it, a little more fluff and a little more nice.
Yeah.
And so she would take out the carton of milk and ask me, taste it. She said,
Ah.
she said, taste it to see if it's good. I'm not tasting it, but I want you to test it. And I go,
Mm-hmm.
all right. And I'll say it's good. Nah, it's not good. We ought to be testing things for our family. What are we watching? What are we letting in our home? Um,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, Especially in this information age. So we're tasting things, not physically, but tasting the data, tasting the news, tasting the things that are coming. And we are the ones that go, yeah, I'm gonna feed this to my family. Or, nah, this isn't good for my family.
Yeah.
So guys, as the head, and how critical is it for a head to be cool and calm and collected. How critical it is for the physical head to be cool and to be calm and to be
Yes.
thinking. It's going to direct this body, right? How much
Yeah.
more for the family, right? The head has to be cool, calm, and collected as best as possible, especially under pressure, to keep
Yeah.
the family together and to keep it moving in the way it should be moving. So, my brother, I
Hmm.
don't know if you have any thoughts there.
Oh man, you're messing me up over here and having me all excited. Um, I can think of anything. I would just tell you that I have to do the same thing at home, but I prefer to use my nose and my mouth to test the milk and the beans, huh? Because depending on where it is in decomposition, it has a certain smell.
Yeah,
And so I train myself so that and if that fails, then I would use my mouth. But then you have meats too that you would smell. And I would
hmm,
like to say that I want to add a number of things to what you're saying because it's so
sure,
powerful. Um, the Another thing that your mouth does is an output. You see, your
right,
senses are input and output.
right,
So your eyes would be an input,
right.
and depending on the need, you can use your eyes as an output. If your husband is hitting you big twice, and your eye becomes an output. Uh, your ear
uh,
is an input.
yes.
Your nose is an input. But you can say, if you're happy, then spread your nose twice. There are people who can open and close their nose a little bit.
Yeah.
I used to do it when I was small. And so it can be output, but they're basically input and output. So your mouth is an
Yes.
output. And it is that mouth that's in the head that is used to speak and to declare things, and to you go to the shop, you use your mouth and you order things, or so that's an output. And I want to say that all those inputs and outputs, they are used without a brain,
Yeah.
because those are senses that input to the central processing unit. And so a husband, when it says the head, it is important to have all those things you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
and those things should report to a functioning brain.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a husband, you should be, and I'm not saying you should be the smartest one in your house, because I'm not.
Right.
I might be at the bottom of the barrel, but I'm just saying that you should have a functioning, that these
Right.
inputs come to you and you can take them and make decisions and put back out. And so you want to be equipping your brain, you want to be exercising your brain. And this is one of the things that makes you ready for a marriage, that you are aware of your input. A baby that's immature might know that it wants food, but all it can do is cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see a thought there.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I see a thought. Go, you go.
Yeah, no, I was thinking with the output of the mouth. This is and it's going back to something that we think it talked about in one of the previous episodes about along the lines of affirming the woman in our lives, our wives, daughter, and I think that's a key point there. It's projecting outward,
Yeah,
to and it's interesting. More than blinking twice, there's so much that you can read at somebody's eyes. Sometimes
yeah,
their eyes look fierce, sometimes their eyes look scared, sometimes they look angry just with their eyes. In our
yeah,
culture, we say cut eye, right?
yeah,
If they cut the eye, if we cut our eye at you, it's like, ugh, this person is really discontented or really not
yeah,
happy with you or what was just said or done. So I just wanted to add that there with the mouth, right? That use it to affirm and to build up our
yeah,
family as well.
yeah.
So
And that moment on the head.
go ahead.
Yeah. So the question comes up, well, if the husband has this huge responsibility to be equipped and to be the brain and to be why is such a heavy responsibility on the husband as far as the manual is concerned? sorry, if you want to have a different marriage where you make your own rules, fine. You know, you don't have to listen to the manufacturer. I can't promise you get the best result, but fine. So if the husband has these responsibilities and this weight on his shoulder because he's the foundation, so he has to be the brain and he has to be lonely but complete before he gets married and to be whole before he gets married. And if it's always his responsibility, although it's not his fault all the time, then, well, what should the wife responsibilities be?
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to
go ahead.
I want to start with what the manufacturer says. The same manufacturer that gives the husband his responsibility tells the wife, you should submit to your husband and obey your husband. This is very rough, the words that are used here. So what this means? Well, two things. One, it means that wherever your husband believes his purpose is, or the purpose of the marriage is, you are submitted to that. This brings me to the second part. So, mommy, before you get with that man, try to find out what he believes his purpose is. So that man that you so like because he's tall, or because he has a car, or because he's handsome, what is his purpose? What is he called to do? You want to find out how to join with him, because after you get with him, then you don't want to be changing what his purpose is, because he's the head.
Right.
I always remember this story that I was told years ago. I think I was going to high school, and they were talking something, the science and the physics of a human and the brain. And they mentioned that a lady picking up a pot off the stove. She's cooking for her family to come home and eat, and she picks up this pot, but she forgot it was hot. And when she picks up that pot, it burns her, and the hand sends a message to the head, it's hot. Let it go. And that lady, her brain, she being the head, gets a message from the hand. This is hurting, stop. And for the benefit of the family that they could eat, that lady will send back a message to that, unless it's super, way out of control hot.
Right.
A message will be sent back to that hand. Just hold it a couple seconds more. We'll set it back on the stove. And that hand might be burnt for days. And wanting to know, so what's wrong with the head? I need to be the head. Well, hand, sorry, you don't have eyes.
Yeah.
You don't have nose. You don't have ears.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking literally, but I'm saying the head is entrusted with that responsibility. So your purpose inside the marriage might be to protect the vital organs of the head, or of the body, I should say. And so the manufacturer says here that you are taken from a certain place. I don't know if you get into that later, so I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. But your place is different, and you have no eyes in this case. And so your job is to make sure that whosoever you join with, you can submit yourself to, that you can obey. Because if you cannot obey that person, don't join with him. Tallness will only suffice you. It will only satisfy you for a period of time. When you get married, whether he's tall or short tends to pale in the background. Okay? So your purpose then is to obey and honor and submit to, meaning that the husband determines the purpose of the marriage. Because he's the head. So I want to say this. If the man was a soldier before you married him, then don't get married and complain that he's never at home. There are countries that the army is not as in as much
demand
active and demand than as other countries where you have war almost every day. And then there are countries that, although they might be active in war a lot, they send soldiers to other places that are active. And so you can't get married to a soldier and then turn around and complain that he's never at home.
Mm-hmm.
You see? And I want to advise soldiers. You, sir, have to be very, 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 and if you thought I was finished, very, 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 very whole. You need to be complete. They should have a separate section in the army that equips soldiers, male soldiers, I'm talking, how to be. They have to be exemplary husbands.
Mm.
Because if you are going to be away for this amount of time with hardly any contact, then the small time that you are there has to be worth it. The other times that you're away, if it's possible to make contact, you have to be that there should be no army that has this missing, this ingredient of training the soldiers, the men, how to be the best husbands in the world.
Right.
You see? So that has to be clear.
Yeah.
If your husband has this desire to go to a far country to be in the desert and in the Sahara and to live, then you should be aware of this. That's why you investigate before you get married. You see? So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I when you talked about advising the woman to make sure he knows his purpose or to find out his purpose, here's a funny story. Probably have heard it where the guy went for an interview and the guy says, "So what can you do?" He says, "Nothing." And he said, "So why is he with you?" Right? He has his friend with him. He said, "Why is he with you?" He's here to help me do nothing. So
wow.
So you know, it's you know, one of the things I also see where there is strong leadership and people that are strong in passion and purpose, it's almost difficult not to follow what they're doing, you know. And so you know, it's an encouragement to men and the head to be very passionate and to be passionate men and purposeful men in what you're doing. And again, women, you know, don't try to compete or control if you see a man strong like that. Try to see how you complement. I remember years ago, someone a young lady asked me advice. He said, you know, I'm thinking I'm interested in this person, but they in this area, they were kind of weak in an area. Said they're not so good at budgeting or saving. I said, well, I hear you. I said, but do you think that maybe you can complement this person in that area? Just a thought, food for thought in terms of help meet. Why I say that to go where I'm going is because the manufacturer shows that the women are taken from the rib of the man, and a rib. I always thought, why the rib? Why the rib? Why wasn't the backbone? Why wasn't it a foot bone? Why wasn't it, you know, a neck bone? It was the backbone. I mean, sorry, it was the rib.
Yeah.
And a rib serves a function physically in boxing. When you're hitting the rib is taking the impact that the heart or the lung or many other vital organs would have been taken. So
yeah,
a rib is therefore also a rib provides structure to the body. Imagine you and I without ribs.
Yeah.
You know, there's no structure.
Yeah.
And so a rib is there to support, it's there to shield, and it's there for structure. And
Yeah.
so one of the things you see, and it's important for us to establish this discussion because the manufacturer also points out that though women are the weaker vessels, they are our equal, our co-heir. And so in this kingdom that the manufacturer has set up, there is hierarchy, but there's equality. Okay,
Yeah.
hierarchy does not make equality obsolete. You know, like in the world system, your status and hierarchy kind of almost diminishes equality. Well, I'm not in the world, I'm not equal to you because you make more than me, or you have this position, or you live in this neighborhood, or whatever it may be. There seems to be differences where that is concerned, but in this kingdom where the manufacturer has, and in marriage, he makes it clear, yes, the man is the head, but the wife, the helpmeet, is as equal to him. So let's make it clear.
Yeah.
There's no lesser value to a woman. No. Man and woman, male and female, are equal. But there is a hierarchy, and we have to establish the two and make sure that we understand that. because the
Yes.
rib provides structure, support, and a shield. The purpose is clear. The man has the head, he's going, has a vision. You come alongside, you support. And so that does not mean your ideas are not welcome. And let me tell you, so many times I would have an idea and I just share with my wife, and she comes alive and fits in, and the idea I have becomes even more robust.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It takes on a whole other dynamic and dimension because now she has input, she's flowing with it, and it's more complete than
Yeah. Yeah.
than before. So I want to give some of those examples there because it's not that one is more important or one is inferior. No. One is more. No, there's equality here. And so with the rib, the woman, the help, man, it's awesome. Listen, we need y'all. Okay,
Yep.
we need y'all. I just want to say there's some men that are poor in financing. You're strong there. That's how you help. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm just throwing out examples as they come to my mind. It's not limited to what I'm saying. It's definitely far more dynamic and surpasses what I'm thinking or what I'm saying. But I want to add that the rib, all right? I just love that the rib, that the manufacturer is intentional in taking out the rib. All right.
Yeah.
So remember those three things: support, structure, and shield. Last thing I want to add there is, and this is just kind of like a personal experience. Maybe you had it, maybe you don't, but there are times I'm very excited about something. My heart is excited and I want to get it done now and I move. But then Lady Wisdom and my wife comes in and say, yeah, but maybe like this, or not the timing, or like, and I find out when I listen, wow, I save, or it's just more efficient, or when the times I didn't listen is like, I should have listened. So
Right.
just adding some of those practical things to say, this is how it meshes together. The manual says two are better than one.
Yeah.
Two are better than one, for they have a better reward for their labor. Two are better than one. If one falls down, the other can help up. Two are better than one because if it's cold, they lie down together, they warm each other. Two are better than
Yeah.
one because if an enemy comes, one might be able to withstand, but two can definitely resist.
Yeah.
So two are better than one. As we begin to kind of come down, I'm going to give you space to share your final thoughts, but let's leave and know, for the purpose of marriage, two are better than one. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah. As we're coming down, what are your thoughts, my brother?
I think that's awesome what you just said. I don't want to even imagine a human being saying to its rib, I don't need you. You know, if taking a punch to your gut is so difficult, I would
Wow.
want to know what it feels to take a punch to the heart. You know?
Probably would die.
Yeah, and saying we don't need a heart, or ribs, is the language of of a fool.
I was gonna say a fool.
Yeah, it's the same way how the manufacturer anyway. But saying that we don't need our ribs is that's not a smart language. But
Yeah.
because our hearts are so wicked, as we mentioned before, our hearts are desperately wicked.
Yeah.
Then we start to get into this equal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're all equal. Nobody is more valuable than the other person.
Right.
But equal does not dissolve authority in the
That's
same way
right.
that authority does not dissolve
I
equalness.
love that.
But because of our wicked and dirtiness, then we get in positions and we feel that we are better than somebody else because we are the authority. And many of us use our authority to take advantage of those who are helpless.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
see? But those who are helpless are not helpless and need to know that nobody should take advantage of you
Yeah.
because you're equal to them. That doesn't mean you have equal authority. And everywhere you go, there are authority structures. And whether you believe in authority or not, you better follow the authority. because the manufacturer has given the authorities swords and guns. And while the manual said that they do not bear the sword in vain, today the manual would have they do not bear the 9 in vain, the 9mm, or the Glock in vain. You see? So they do not delete one another. But understanding both helps you to walk the best life you can walk. I have looked at families and I have seen where men struggle. I've seen men struggle with things that their wives are 1,000% better in. Mention finances, but there are other things that I see wives being way ahead.
Yeah.
And this man refuses to allow the wife to deal with that part and control that part. Refuses to submit himself to that because, not because a wife should submit herself to the husband, mean that the husband does not have to submit himself to his wife. Like, for example, I'm not this handsome because of only where I came from. But I'm this handsome because my wife tells me how to do my hair. There was one time when I wanted to do a certain style and my wife was, no, I don't like to see you like that. And I submitted myself to that. Does that mean that my wife is better than me now? She's more equal than I am, or she's... No. I submitted myself to that process. Now she doesn't have a choice. She has to like the bald head, you know? And that is my number one style. I haven't been to a professional barber for maybe 13 years.
Wow.
Because there's no need to cut anything. You know?
They cut your head, they'll get knowledge.
Yeah. So, but that period of time, I did my hair in the way that she liked. And even today, I might put out, the other day I was going somewhere and I put out a shirt and the shirt was put back. And I was given a new outfit to wear. Now I could have stepped my foot down and said, no, I'm going to, yeah. But no, I submit myself to the process. I don't have to. I submitted myself to the process and we work. It doesn't mean that no, because I submit to that, I have to submit to everything. No, that's not how it works. The same way, not because the manufacturer doesn't say wives should love their husbands, that they shouldn't, that they can't. That's okay too. You know? And so, men, it is okay to pay attention to the advice of your wife. She might be much better than you in that, but because of the hardness of your heart and your hard-headedness, then you don't listen and you go out there and make a mess of yourself. Because you don't want to listen to the person that you were given by the manufacturer. And I don't like to say that either. Maybe one of these days we'll get to that. The person that you chose, you don't want to listen to. While that person has what you need to be on top. You see? And I want to say this, it's kind of like my final words, that the head, anybody who's a leader, you don't lead by force and by control. A leader is so good because he is, or she, because we have female leaders too, but we are talking about marriage here. A leader is so good that he leads by passion. He is willing to do it himself. He is willing to suffer or die for his cause. And that passion is contagious. And people automatically just follow. So if you have to be controlling your wife, then you have not learned how to be a leader. You see? So you don't have to force. There are times you have to step down your foot. I understand that. But your marriage should not be one of force. It should be one of inspiration. That your leadership qualities inspire. That you love your wife in such a proper way that she automatically just follow you. She automatically just, which is written in the manual, by the way. She automatically just submits. Yeah, it's just a response. And so this is what I want to say to men. Submission is automatic. So when I'm meeting with a man, because of a relationship that is not working and I'm trying to help him, the minute I hear that his wife is not submitted to him, that tells me a lot about how he handles himself within the marriage. Because submission is automatic. But if there's nothing for a wife to submit herself to, then she won't. Because this lady might be more educated than you, more intelligent than you, as my wife is, more intelligent and more educated than I am. And if you're going nowhere, she will find it hard to follow you because she has sense.
Yeah.
And if you want somebody that doesn't have sense, then you made the wrong choice. So you have to be the foundation that you need to be, and submission, I promise you, it will be automatic. And herein is the purpose for marriage.
That's right.
These are.
Yep. Herein is the purpose for marriage. Two are better than one. All right. And remember, guys, I think this is one I'm going to leave with. The purpose for marriage is to fulfill a purpose. Okay. So there's a purpose for you as a husband, as a wife, and there's a purpose for your family, your marriage, your kids. Know that your life matters and your marriage matters. And this has been Marriage Matters. We thank you guys for rocking with us. Before I go, please, if this has been helpful to you, hit the like button, subscribe, share, and be blessed as you do and as you go along in your life and in your journey in relationships. Until next time, this is Marriage Matters. I am Shane. See you later.
Take care.